Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Hello, so today I'll be presenting the gender differences in ethics at workplaces in the United States. So women in the United States were not strongly related or associated with workforce until the nation joined the Second World War in 1941. As men in their working ages were drafted for war, the previously thought men's jobs needed new labor force that would replace men, and this was replaced by women. So consequently, women's input in labor force became more prominent, and the image of working women like Rosa the Riveter right here became widespread. This poster by Miller Howard became the symbol of women's economic power and feminism since 1942, encouraging women to engage in physical labor and to earn living wages. This image actually tied very close to me because I hear a lot about my mom's office and how she views other people and the gender differences at workplace. And as I started my intern at her office, I started to notice some of the things she has been telling me as well. And as gender equality at many workplaces still remains as a controversial issue, I decided to look in depth in the gender differences in ethics at the workplaces, which led me to the question, are women more ethical than men at workplaces in the United States? So the definition of ethics that I'll refer to in this presentation is moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity defined by the Oxford Dictionary. And workplace here, I'll focus more on the offices rather than the factories. So I focused on two main perspectives to discuss gender differences, which are first, gender difference in prioritizing values, and second, in perception of ethical work behavior. So firstly, the differences in priority of values between men and women result in the differences in their ethical behaviors at workplaces. According to Andrea Learned, a social engagement specialist on sustainable business leadership and marketing to women, men prioritize demonstrating their masculinity before ethics. And masculinity here means the qualities that are traditionally and stereotypically associated with men, including being tough and taking risks at workplaces. And men tend to link ethical behaviors such as abiding the rules or listening carefully to others with passivity and cowardice, which are stereotypically classified as unmanly. As a result, men prioritize winning of negotiation or arguments over making ethical decisions, meaning that they're willing to take controversial or high-risk actions regardless of their moral values in order to win and prove their masculinity. And since men feel more pressure to prove their masculinity to others, in situations that call for unethical decisions to be made for the profit of the company, men are more willing to bend the rules and display their assertiveness, thus seeming to be less ethical than women. In contrast to men, according to research done by two business ethics professors at U of Central Florida, women tend to value ethics higher than anything else. And because of this, women strictly follow the ethical rules at workplaces. And women are also not confined by others' judgment, as they do not have to prove their manliness or masculinity to others. Thus, men are less likely to engage in unethical behavior compared to men in certain situations, such as participating in unethical selling practices, buying stock on inside information, engaging in illegal fund transfers, and doing nothing when they're faced in unethical situations. Therefore, due to the difference in prioritizing the values between the genders, women are seen to be more ethical than men. The second difference between the genders is the difference in perception of ethical work behavior. By perception, I mean how certain actions or behaviors are perceived by the genders. Women have higher ethical standards, while men have more linear or lower standards. In other words, women are more likely to find the same business situation or issues as unethical or unacceptable than men do. For example, women more often spot ethically questionable activities such as manipulating the documents or lying to coworkers as corrupted. And in addition, according to an article from Wharton School of UPenn, women are more easily outraged by the economic gains that are earned through unethical practices and are more likely to not accept the job when unethical compromises are needed to be made. As well as having higher ethical standards, women also have better ethical sensitivity than men. Women are better at determining if the situation is involving bad or good ethics, because men do not regard the situation as unethical in the first place, as they have lower and more lenient standards. According to Maureen Ambrose, business professor at U of Central Florida, women are better at accurately recognizing the ethical issues concerning disclosure, integrity, and conflict of interest than men. Women's better perception of ethics is also shown in their ethical responses in areas such as minority hiring. Although it seems logical that women would support minority hiring as they're usually the minority in the workforce, they still cope more appropriately with ethical dilemmas compared to their male employees. Therefore, women seem to be more ethical in terms of prioritizing values as well as perceiving situations with higher ethical standards. The previous perspectives that I just discussed suggest that women are naturally inclined to be more ethical than men. However, opposite perspectives suggest that there is no gender-based difference present in ethical views. Studies suggest that women behave in ethical ways due to the social pressure forced upon them rather than because of their genuine willingness derived from moral values. According to Ambrose, women are more as likely as men to engage in unethical behaviors if social detection was not a problem, meaning that women is as likely to engage in unethical behaviors if she knew that no one would find out about it. In addition, women's ethical sensitivity to unethical behaviors in the workforce was stronger when she first entered the workforce, however, would decline or fade away as she gained more experience at workplace. Thus, these evidences show that women seem to be more ethical because women care more about public opinion and how they're viewed or judged by the others, not because of the fundamental innate differences between men and women. In conclusion, women are seen to be more ethical due to social pressure and expectations rather than innate differences. Saying that women are always more ethical than men at work would be oversimplifying statement that ignores the complexity of the evidences, yet women are inclined to care more about morals compared to men. And what these conclusions and evidences suggest to me is that we need more voice for women at workplaces. We need more women in higher management positions who can represent and voice the women. As multiple studies have shown, women are more responsive regarding particular ethical issues than men, and those traits can be applied in strategic situations and in higher management positions that require making of ethical decisions, which, by the way, is shown to be more profitable for the company. According to Harvard Business Review, having 30% share of the C-suite, which is CEO, CIO, and COO, had 15% increase in their profits compared to having no women in their C-suite at all. As a diversity in workplace and women's decision-making skills translate into better work environment and to better profit, I believe that companies should embrace and incorporate the gender differences and ethical behaviors at workplaces. Thank you.
Okay, Sharon, is there, in your research process, is there information that you wish you could have found but didn't, and kind of insights why maybe it wasn't available?
I think I wish I found the limitations earlier in the process of researching, because I found the limitations of social pressure and expectations later, and that's if I had found that earlier, then I would have incorporated that in my reasoning, and maybe I would have provided another perspective. And I'm sure that there are more limitations to how genders behave in different ways. So if I found some limitations early in the stage, or if I found some more, then I think it would have definitely helped building my argument overall. Yeah.
And you talked about how you would like to see the workplace change
Um, because I know that in the future I want to work in one of the offices, just like my mom. I kind of looked through TED Talks, and there were some. I forget her name, but her last name was Sandberg, and she talked about how women has to thrive more in the workplaces, and they should have more share of the C-suite and higher management positions. And as I was thinking about that, I nodded my head, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely there are differences, and we have to embrace them. But at the same time, it's important to have the diversity in the workforce, and which obviously is backed by the Harvard Review, where it's more profitable to have diverse genders in the community. So yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.